All right, y'all. First and foremost, give all praise to Yah, Bashim, Al Shabrak Give us a sincere green to all the brothers and sisters scattered across the four corners, teaching His word with sincerity and charity. Just to read along today, man. Acts 18 and verse 1. Well, we're gonna read all of Acts 18, right? All of Acts 18. It says, after these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome. And so, like I wouldn't just read that. I would go and search why Claudius is asking, or it is commanding rather, all Jews to depart from Rome. He want all Jews out of Rome. Um, and so you have a couple of different things to think about. You have some people that think, well, oh man, Israel's just under this, they just under bondage. They under this strict bondage. They are a vassal kingdom, or a vassal state rather. And you need to go look up what that means. What is a vassal state? So they're paying tribute to Rome. They rendering unto Caesar what is his. But they do have sorts of freedom. They do have freedom to freedom of religion and freedom to kind of govern themselves within their own land. And we see here Aquila is born in Pontus. All right, he's born in Pontus. Let's see where Pontus is. Let's see where Pontus is located. And we'll see. Yeah, Pontus on this border here. And anytime you have these border countries, these border these border states here or cities, this is money. This is good money right here, because it's a lot of trading going on. All right, you look at cities like Caesarea, Alexandria, money going on, port cities, because of the trading. Okay, because of the trading. So Pontus is right here on this border here. Let's see if we seen anything else here. Yeah, it's right on that border, y'all. Look at that. You see Cappadocia. You see Galatia, Sicily, Cecilia, Asia. Yeah, okay. But anyway, let's go back here. All right, so you have a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus. All right, lately coming from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because the Jews have been commanded to depart from Rome. And this is a departure because of the beef. Because of the beef that's going on between Israel. Let's look and see if we can find something real quick. Why the Emperor Claudius try to do this with one hand? Kick out the Jews. Claudius expulsion, just a brief statement. Who was in office 40 AD 41 to 54. Appeared in the Acts Apostles in 18 in Acts 18 too. And in the writings of Roman historian Suetonius, Cassius Dio, 5th century Christian author. Let me see. There are at least the exact date is uncertain. The maximal time window of the expulsion of Jews from Rome is from January AD 41 until January AD 53. More detailed estimates, such as those based on AD 49, date by Orosius, or the reduction of the AD 53 upper limit due to Proconsul Gladio's Gladio's health, are possible but controversial. The context, there were at least 2 expulsions of the Jews from Rome before the reign of Emperor Claudius. In 139 BC, the Jews were expelled after being accused of missionary efforts. Then in AD 19, Tiberius once again expelled the Jews from the city for similar reasons. I think they're just reading that. Preserving a letter concerning Gallio during the 26th acclamation of Claudius sometimes. Don't look like we got no reasoning here. Let's see if we can find something. So here we go. Since the Jews constantly made disturbances at the instigation of Chrestus, the ancient Roman Suetonius wrote ambiguous sentence which could be translated in 2 ways. Since the Jews constantly made disturbances of the instigation of Chrestus, Claudius expelled them from Rome. Tumulating Jews prompted by Chrestus. In a later version, it would mean that Claudius only expelled those Jews who made disturbances. Tumulating translation comes to the Latin. Many scholars link the disturbance to the spread of Christianity and to clashes between Jews and Christians and Jews. That's what I've read before. So that's where I pulled it. I got that from, because of the beef between Christianity, between believing Jews and unbelieving Jews, who preached that Jesus was the Messiah. Others think that Chrestus was a man in Rome who was instigating Jewish unrest, and that this was not related to Christianity. So that's where we at with that, But either way it go, whether you believe, whether it was us beefing with each other and causing unrest, or some dude named Chrestus, either way it go, because of the unrest, these Jews were kicked out of Rome. And that ain't the first time they get kicked out. Verse 3. And because he was of the same craft, he abode with them and wrought. For by their occupation, they were tent makers. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks. He persuaded the Jews and the Greeks. And that's my thing. If we're saying that these Greeks are Gentiles or have a Gentile mind, they're in the synagogue. Paul ain't just walking, they're inside of the synagogue. Why do you think they there? You think they're not learning the law? You think they don't know who they are? And when Silas and Timotheus were come from Macedonia, Paul was pressed in the spirit and testified to the Jews that Jesus was Christ. And when they opposed themselves and blasphemed, he shook his raiment and said unto them, excuse me, y'all. He shook his raiment and said unto them, your blood be upon your own heads. I am clean. From henceforth I will go unto the Gentiles. And he departed thence and entered into a certain man's house named Justus, one that worshipped God, whose house joined hard to the synagogue. Justus, this individual's house was next door to the synagogue. But we see how when people oppose you, when you trying to break these things down to your brothers and sisters, man, and they're opposing you, man, just shake your raiment, shake your garment off, dust your feet, and it's on them, man. You gave it to them. Just try to force it down them, or they're gonna end up hating you. And he departed thence and entered into a certain man's house named Justus, one that worshiped God, whose house joined hard to the synagogue. And Crispus, the chief ruler of the synagogue, believed on the Lord with all his house. And many of the Corinthians hearing believed and were baptized. So Crispus, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and all his family believed, and many of the Corinthians hearing believed. Verse 9, then spake the Lord to Paul in the night by a vision, be not afraid, but speak and hold not thy peace, for I am with thee, and no man shall set on thee to hurt thee, for I have much people in this city. And so we see the Most High speaking to Paul in a vision at night, and he's saying to Paul, listen, don't worry, man, these jokers ain't gonna touch you. Who is he talking about ain't gonna touch him? Who is he trying to tell Paul not to worry about? Who is he tell Paul, man, these folks ain't gonna be able to persecute, they ain't gonna be able to do nothing. Don't worry about it, speak boldly. Right after he's having this conversation of, man, listen, that blood is on y'all. From henceforth, I'm going to the Gentiles. I'm going to the Gentiles from now on. It says, for I am with thee, and no man shall set on thee to hurt thee, for I have much people in this city. And he continued there 1 year and 6 months, teaching the word of God among them. And when Gallio was the deputy of Achaia, I'll be mutilating these words, y'all. The Jews made insurrection with one accord against Paul. Who made insurrection? The Jews. The Jews are coming after Paul and brought him to the judgment seat. And so they waited till Gallio was the governor of this particular city in Corinth, and they was and they Shalakia, and they're making insurrection. They all on one accord, and they brought him to the judgment seat. They brought him to Gallio to be judged, to be condemned. Watch this, what they're saying, this fellow pursueth men to worship God contrary to the law. That's it. Hey man, listen, man, Paul, they taking this joker to a Gentile ruler in Corinth, a Gentile governor in Achaia. Let's see how to say that, man. It's bothering me how much Achaia. Nope, would have never got that. Achaia. But anyway, yeah, they trying to bring this joker up on charges, man. Jews are bringing Paul up on charges, and I know a lot of y'all, man, some of them believed, and and it was some of them that believed, but brother, a lot of them didn't believe, and they're persecuting Paul the whole ride. Okay, they persecuting Christians the whole ride. They persecuting believers the whole ride. Saying this fellow persuadeth men to worship God contrary to the law. And look how zealous they are about the law. And these people are already in Corinth. There's synagogues all over the place. There's synagogues in Galatia. There's synagogues in Rome. There's synagogues in Alexandria. How are we saying these folks these folks don't know who they are? Or they in some Gentile state of mind? You don't think these jokers putting Paul up on persecuting Paul. You don't think nobody went by there and was getting on these darn Jews or getting on these, if y'all want to say they northern kingdom, you don't think nobody was getting on them about worshiping God country or worshiping these idols? Anyway, but they on Paul though. Watch this, verse 14. And when Paul was now about to open his mouth, Gallio said to the Jews, if it were a matter of wrong or wicked lewdness, O ye Jews, reason would that I should bear with you. All right, so I would deal with you if it was a matter of wrongdoing or some wickedness, some form of wickedness that they were doing. O ye Jews, I will bear with you. But watch verse 15. But if it be a question of words and names and of your law, not my law, your law, and it be a question of words and names and of your law, look ye to it, for I will be no judge of such matters. All right, you look to it yourself. Y'all take care of that. You deal with it yourself, man. I ain't finna deal with that. I ain't judging them kind of matters. If it's with name calling and something concerning your laws, just y'all just going back and forth, I ain't concerning myself with that trash. And he drave them from the judgment seat. Then all the Greeks took Sosthenes, let's see with that. Let's see how we can say that. Sosthenes. Sosthenes. That's the only way we gonna learn, y'all. We try to sound these things out, but we gotta look down his head with some of these Greeks. Sosthenes. Then all the Greeks took Sosthenes, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and beat him before the judgment seat. Listen now. Then all the Greeks took Sosthenes, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and beat him before the judgment seat. And Gallio cared for none of those things. He didn't care about that mess. And so you got Greeks. Brothers, you want to say these are Gentiles? I mean, not Gentiles, but if you trying to say these what they call them, Gentile-minded Jews, that just don't look right, man. That don't fit. Come on, y'all. And then all the Greeks took Sosthenes. I don't forgot it already. The chief ruler, but let me show you this right here. What's funny about this? So the Greeks took this joker and end up beating this joker. 1 Corinthians 1:1, it says, Paul called to be an apostle of Jesus Christ through the will of God, and Sosthenes, our brother. Sosthenes, our brother. But, you know, we end up beating that joker down. He let them Jews bring Paul up on charges. Let me go back. But he is the chief ruler of the synagogue, and we see that letter being wrote to him. What we at? Verse 18. And Paul, after this, tarried there yet a good while, and then took his leave of the brethren and sailed thence into Syria, and with him Priscilla and Aquila, having shorn or shaved his head, and since Rhea, for he had a vow. And he came to Ephesus and left them there. But he himself entered into the synagogue and reasoned with the Jews. And when they desired him to tarry longer with them, he consented not, but bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this feast that cometh in Jerusalem. But I will return again unto you, if God will, and he sailed from Ephesus. And it's very strange too that he's in the synagogue with the Jews. Are the Jews and the Jews like, man, you can stay with us, man? But he's like, nah, I gotta go and keep this common feast in Jerusalem. Verse 22. And when he had landed at Caesarea and gone up and saluted the church, he went down to Antioch. So he's kind of close at this point when he's in Caesarea, where we have Cornelius was born at, which is again another port state built by Caesar. All right. He went down to Antioch, verse 23, and after he had spent some time there, he departed and went all over the country of Galatia and Phrygia. Let me see. And what's when you can't sound these words out, it hinders comprehension. Phrygia. Yeah, I probably still ain't gonna be able to pronounce that, man. But anyway, it does hinder comprehension when you can't pronounce certain names. It's hard to follow certain stories, and when you're reading certain books and you can't pronounce things, you got to look words up. You can't be afraid. You got to be humble reading the text. This is how you learn. Where we at? Phrygia, in order, strengthening all the disciples, and a certain Jew named Apollos, born in Alexandria, another port. Alexandria, man, let me show y'all where Alexandria way up on Egypt. It's really not Egypt. And Alexander the Great built this city. I think the seventh one of the seven wonders of the world was some light tower that they had there. Alexandria, second largest city in Egypt, but I don't think they considered it that biblical times. That biblical map, I don't think they considered it Egypt back then, because Egypt was at the top. But look where it's located. Port, and Egypt and all that stuff is down a little further south. They weren't really dealing with that. I got that actual book right there. But let's see if we can see some more images. What in the world? Oh, it just went to Shalakia, y'all. Ancient Alexandria, 250 BC. You got some text there. Jewish districts and synagogue inscriptions. I talk to y'all about this another time, but this thing was actually blocked off in Alexandria. It was so many Jews. It was like 1 million Jews that were there doing during the times of Yahushua. And they had districts blocked off so that they didn't have to deal with the pagans. But then there go to see that lighthouse right there. But I think they split the districts off in 4 Jewish districts and synagogue inscriptions. They found these things, and guess what they're written in? Greek. But like I said, man, you gotta put all these things together, man. I know we don't get into these things, but we will. We will be getting into them. Just not yet. Certain Jew named Apollos, born in Alexandria, an eloquent man and mighty in the scriptures, came to Ephesus. This man was instructed in the way of the Lord, and being fervent in the spirit, he spake and taught diligently the things of the Lord, knowing only the baptism of John. And so we see Apollos was born where? In a wealthy Alexandria, and he was mighty in the scriptures. So just because these people are up there don't mean they're not mighty in the scriptures. Don't mean that the word is not going out up there. So that's the thing. Like the word is going out up there. You got people like Apollos. You got John from Paul from Tarsus. You got Priscilla and Aquila from Pontus. Like, and they about to teach him. Watch this. This man was instructed in the way of the Lord and being fervent in the spirit. He spake and taught diligently the things of the Lord, knowing only the baptism of John. And he began to speak boldly in the synagogue, from whom when Aquila and Priscilla had heard, they took him unto them and expounded unto him the way of God more perfectly. And when he was disposed to pass from Achaia, the brethren wrote, exhorting the disciples to receive him, who, when he was come, helped them much which had believed through grace. All right. And when he was disposed to pass into Achaia, the brethren wrote, exhorting the disciples to receive him, because they just left there. All right. We seen Gallio being the governor of Achaia, and this is where they jumped on Sosthenes. They jumped on that joker, the leader of the synagogue, chief leader of the synagogue. They end up jumping on that joker, beating him. The Greeks, all right, end up jumping him in front of Gallio, and he ain't caring nothing about it. Now, Aquila and Priscilla done schooled Apollos, and they're sending Apollos up there in Corinth, in Achaia, and he's telling that they wrote to the disciples, hey man, receive him when he comes in there. He has helped them. When he was come, helped them which had believed through grace. For he mightily convinced the Jews. And so, where Paul dust his boots, and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it take other people. Sometimes it don't. Sometimes you can go at these folks and you, and then sometimes you like, they don't get it. They ain't listening to you. They ain't taking it serious because they know you. They still see you as, oh, this is little Anthony that, he wasn't never listening in church. I took this joker to church. How you going to sit up here and teach me I took you to church every Sunday? How you going to come back and teach me? So sometimes it takes somebody else because people don't see the new you. A lot of times it's hard for people when they've already known you to see the new you. Sometimes it's hard for somebody, all they seeing is Abraham. All they seeing is Abram. They ain't seeing Abraham. They ain't seeing the change. And it's a lot of these folks when they see Paul walking into the synagogue, they still thinking that's Saul. Come on now. For he mightily convinced the Jews, and that publicly, showing the scriptures that Jesus was Christ, teaching the gospel. That's what you need to give to the Jews. You ain't got to go through all the law with the Jews. The Jews know the law. You got to show them that Jesus is the Christ. That's what they had to do then. We need the law too now because we done forgot everything. But then that was definitely the mission, and definitely the main mission today, man, is to teach the gospel of Christ, and then get our people back in order, man. Tell them to repent and convert, man. You know what I'm saying? And fear the Lord. But yeah, just a quick read, man. Going through chapter 18. Maybe we do 19 tomorrow. But just how we slow up, we ask questions, we look certain things up, we stop, we try to get some pronunciation on things. Maybe we don't get it the first time, but we may get it, we may get it the next time we read it, or the next time after that. But we see, you don't want to go through anything and not know what's going on, or just read over. If you're just really trying to get understanding, sometimes we're reading just to accomplish the mission. Like, oh, I said I'm reading 2 chapters today, so I'm going to go on read 2 chapters. No, if you only read 1 chapter and you're getting the understanding from the one, just read 1 chapter. Just only read 12 verses and take your time and get the understanding of these verses. And when you don't understand or the English is too broken, look at comparative text. Luke kind of writes, where we can kind of understand it a little bit. It's not as broken, but it's still, some of these names, some of these cities, and you gotta look these things up so you'll know where these cities are, where these locations, and these give you more understanding also. But man, Joker's getting beat down inside of the court system, trying to complain. It almost reminds me of the story of Esther, man, with Mordecai. Forget the enemy's name. But some of those snares that you try to lay out for the righteous ends up biting you. With that, man, I pray this thing was edifying. Y'all be blessed, Israel.